Alright, we're back with part two covering Blackpink's latest album. We got four more songs. Gio, what were you going to say towards the end of last episode when I was talking about oversaturated music?
Oh yeah, this is embarrassing. I already forgot. F in the chat. But what was I gonna say? I wasn't gonna talk about the oversaturation because you don't really see that. But you definitely, no way, I do. Okay, I remember. You definitely see oversaturation in K-pop. But it's not like perceived the same way. Because I don't know how it's been in the Western side because I kind of stopped following it for the last 5 years. But in K-pop, it's kind of because artists come back so often with, I don't know, minimum 5 songs to come back. And as years go by, they more and more music, with Korean releases, Japanese releases, some English releases. There's so much music, and I don't want to I don't want to be that guy. But my girlfriend, I was talking to her, and I said, I've made the comment of that we said that IVE's B-sides were forgettable, and then she returned with the statement, at least they're not like Twice that keeps releasing the same music every time they come back. And I was like, yo, why are we getting so personal?
That's a bold statement to make.
That's a bold statement, but it kind of proves the point, because if you're not in the loop with a K-pop group, and you you listen, they come back, oh, Twice is out, let me give it a quick listen, and then you kind of that's it, you give the album a listen, and then you don't follow the group, you don't follow the music carefully, you're just you're a casual fan that sees that they drop, and you listen to it. If you do, honestly, that's how it feels like with other groups that I listen to. They release a song, I was like, wait, didn't they just, honestly, I heard she gave me an album by Astro, a boy group, and it felt like I listened to the same song 5 times in a row. And that's how it is in K-pop, because so much music comes out, everything just starts blending in together, and unless you actually pay attention to the music, you're just kind of yo, they released the same stuff again, which is kind of a fair sentiment to have, but at the same time, it's not true at all. It's just the way that music is perceived in K-pop. Unless you're a diehard fan or a stan of the group, everything is going to sound exactly the same to you.
Yeah. I still think that's a bold statement, honestly, but that's an
when it comes to Twice, it's definitely a bold statement, because there's no, it's because, and then it plays into the whole genre thing too, because if it's the same genre, it's kind of it's not the song's fault, it's the genre's fault, because I don't know, 2 songs from the same genre are gonna have similar features to it, you know what I mean? But yeah, I think we should move on.
Let's move on. Let's move on before I start ranting, because it's not even me being a big fan of that group. It's just, I don't know. That's just a bold statement. That's all I'll say. But moving on to the next song, I believe this one's a solo track, right? Which, I don't want to offend anyone and make it seem like I'm trying to say all the members sound the same, which I'm not. But I didn't notice it was a solo. And I think that's just on me, because this time around, I was very busy, so I didn't get around to watching the lyric videos like I typically do. But I didn't notice this was a solo track.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, some people in my server didn't realize it until they were 2 minutes into the song. They're wait, where are the other members?
Yeah,
so yeah,
I especially can't be faulted, because it's been stated multiple times on this podcast. There have been times where I've never even noticed songs were full on English, and that's the main language I speak.
It was the same. I didn't know, what was that song?
I didn't know Icon by Twice was full on English. I didn't know Queen of Hearts was full on English. There was a third one. I forget what it is. But there was multiple songs where I just didn't realize, oh hey, these are full on English songs. And that's again, that's the main language I speak and listen to music in. But what do you think about this song, Hard
to Love is kind of I don't know. Like compared to like this is considered, or the internet is considering this her third solo song. But compared to like the other two, which is On the Ground and um yeah, something I'm gonna be cancelled on Twitter for not knowing the other song. It's On the Ground and something else, and then there's this one, Hard to Love. I definitely like Hard to Love the best out of the three. It I don't know, I kind of did everything that the other two tried better. Well, not really, because this is kind of like it's very different from the other two. The other two kind of I don't know, just they weren't my cup of tea. But this one, I definitely liked it a lot more. It was kind of I like the message of the song too. It's like it's a very it's not unique, but it's also kind of like out there. You know what I mean?
I get you on that.
Yeah, because it's kind of like it's like kind of it's pushing someone away that you want to that you want to that you want them to stay by you, but you're kind of like it's not going to work out for you. You know what I mean? Like you know yourself well enough to know that you're just going to end up harming the person that you care so much for. And I don't know. I really um, I really like that message. And then I don't know because like this album, what I was gonna say earlier, or what I was going to say was this album does really well in demonstrating the two sides of Blackpink. You know, the Black being fierce and powerful with the first three songs, and then Pink being like a lot softer with the last five. Yeah, because there's eight in total. Yeah, it does really well in showing both sides of Blackpink and who Blackpink is, and yeah, just like the overall themes is like we've seen similar themes in the previous music, but it's kind of like I don't know, solidifying who they are or the pink side of them in the last song and then this song now.
Yeah, and I definitely agree with you. I really enjoyed the message, and this isn't going to be as big of a rant as when we were reviewing that one Icon song, but this is a song, specifically the message, that I wish a lot more people would take to heart. Specifically that, like, how would you put it, like, this isn't just because, like, if you feel like this way about yourself, it's not like, don't feel like you're trying to evoke like pity upon yourself, you know, because like how Gio was talking about, like, this song is like about like how, you know, you're in love with someone, but like the lyrics say it themselves, like the person themselves is not perfect essentially at the moment, and they need obvious work before they get into a relationship. And like that should be something that like people do normally, you know, like we see too often people get into relationships when they're not ready. And just because you have that sentiment, don't think of it in a way as like you feel like you want people to pity you because you're hard to love, you know. It's like, no, it should be something that, like, how would you put it, like I don't know, I just like the message because it kind of demonstrates like that self-acknowledgement that you personally feel you aren't ready, and you're withholding because you don't want to end up causing hurt from the fact that, like, you decided to get into a relationship knowing you weren't quite ready for it, you know.
Hmm. I think it's the and like society should accept something like that because um it could be seen like if someone, oh, I'm hard to love, I'm like I have like you don't want to admit it, but I have all of these issues, and then it's like, oh, you just want that special attention by saying that about yourself, you know, like people, like I've had people's, well, I've said that to people, which is kind of like, I don't know. In my case, I think it was justified for me to say something like that because it really did feel like she wanted it, especially. This is getting a little bit way too personal, but yeah, because like there's like the whole like society either says like, oh, you want pity, you want that special attention, but in reality, you just kind of like want to work on yourself a little bit more, which is like the mature thing to do. Like you work on yourself, you know. It has like the whole love yourself first before you could love someone else. And that, like, yeah, I do agree with you. I feel like that should be something that's like more socially accepted. And I kind of like, I don't know, with like the way that things have been going, I feel like it's going to be a thing sooner than later.
Yeah, especially because it's like you've seen it in society where like they're like, oh, the person you're with isn't like a personal therapist, or they can't be the one to like fix you, in a sense, if that makes sense. And like
Mm-hmm.
we've seen that sort of like wave in music a lot, where a lot of music is like, a person feeling like they need another person to fix them and make them heal, or that they're the ones having to help another person heal. And like people have been like, oh, that's toxic, that's not the way things should be. But then on the flip side, we also see them criticizing when people actually want to take the time and they actually acknowledge that they aren't ready. So it's like, again, kind of going back to my point, I hope we find a middle ground where people learn to look at this as the norm, and not rush into things, especially when more people should realize it's a two-way street and you don't want to end up hurting someone through your choices, in a sense. But that's enough life advice from the culture study side of the podcast.
Yeah, it's our, I guess, in a way, our consumer advice for people who are wanting to consume. Never mind. Anyways, moving on to the next song, which is this is like the big one. This is the one that people heard it, instantly fell in love with it, and it's kind of like the hype of the album. Besides Shutdown, because that's the title track, and it's like, I don't know, it's bound to get that attention because it's the title track, but has the Happiest Girl, which I want to say is the next song, unless I'm wrong.
Yes, it is track number.
Yes, yeah. The Happiest Girl. I believe this is kind of like an interesting fact. The people who wrote this are actually married to each other. So it's kind of like a couple put the song together, and I guess they sold it to YG, or YG found it and they bought it. I don't know how it works, but and I don't know. It has a very like strong message because it's like, well, how does it go? Kind of like, damn, I forgot the lines. But it's kind of basically like you're the person that you're with is like the only person that you want to be with. Like you only want them, but that person is like, I guess, like toxic and like bad for you, and they're like the relationship is a disaster. That's the line that I really like about that talks about like disaster. Is like the banging of walls or something resonate the sound of disaster or something like that. And then like ultimately you're like, you know what? Like I'm done with this. Like I'm gonna be hurt for a little bit, but at the end of the day, it's not gonna matter to me at some point. And dude, vocally, the song hit differently because we saw Jisoo, out of like the one that sings the lines, I can't stop the tears if I wanted to. Dude, she got like her vocal performance on that was sick. The performance from the other members was also sick. This is kind of like something that we usually don't see from Blackpink, where all four of the members sing in a way. And yeah, dude, I don't know. This song is really good.
Yeah, vocally it was really good. It really set the tone. The like, what's the word I want to use? Melancholic, I guess you could say, sort of tone. Like it's instantly like sad from the start. It has the piano in it, which I'm obviously gonna love. What's funny? I think of this. I keep mentioning how I love piano and music, and yet I didn't like Your Lie in April. But that's another topic. But I like the piano, and I agree. The lyrics, especially, were like really, really like they're not. What's the way to put it? They're not like. Oh my gosh, what's the word I'm looking for? They're not like it's nothing like new in a sense, but also at the same time I feel like it is like I don't know, I feel like they kind of expressed the sadness that they're talking about in a really fresh way, I guess you could say, because like again, because of how long music's been going on, we've heard like songs with like similar themes, but I really like the approach they took to this one, especially because it's like I really liked from the chorus when they say, you know, like I can stop the tears if I want to, you know, and like that kind of adds to the meaning of like, you know, how you said how, you know, they're like allowing themselves to be like sad about it. And that's that, you know, again, I'm not trying to go on a rant, but that's like another thing that like I hope society slowly picks up on is not feeling like selfish for allowing themselves to grieve over something that like caused them pain, you know. It's like the fact that, you know, it's like, yeah, I could stop the tears if I want to. I could, you know, bottle these emotions and like hold it in and, you know, and all that, but like they're allowing themselves to go through this grief because in the end it'll allow them to be happy once they're without it, you know.
I think we saw a similar theme to this. Well, not really, but it took a page from the same book with a song that released 4 years ago. I lost track of time. Kill This Love, which is kind of like the whole, like, if the love killing you, kill it. That's basically it. And it's kind of the same thing here. It's kind of like, you know, like you really want, you know, to have that love for the person, but it's not correct. Keep harming yourself because of it. So just kill the love, grieve, allow yourself to grieve, and eventually, as they put it, where's the line?
Is it you'll see like it never happened?
Yeah, something like that. I'll be the happiest girl, and then like eventually it's not gonna matter anymore.
Yeah.
Which is really nice. It's a very strong message, and it's definitely gonna resonate with a lot of people. And like the last 5 songs of this album are really gonna resonate with people, and I think that's what's like drawing that extra attention to the album because of just how easily it is to connect with the lyrics.
Yeah, and I just want to point this out, not as a way to like, how would you put it? I don't mean to like make this seem like, again, like I don't want to be like the people that like are gonna claim this is like something that shouldn't be talked about. But you mentioned them having sort of like more freedom. I don't know. Maybe it's just because I still like I know like the way like certain people still think about it, like in certain areas, especially like even here in the States. But I don't know if this is like, because I'm looking at the lyrics on Genius, and like towards the end of the song, there's a part where it says all it takes is a smooth pop of a bottle top to fix a broken heart. And then it even says all it takes is a little rolling paper, and I can only assume the two things they're alluding to, which I mean it makes it really obvious by those 2 lines or 3 lines, or well the 2 lines I'm referencing, but like that definitely seems like something that they're being more bold with openly stating compared to like, because like as far as I know, I've never even seen really any mentions of like that type of stuff in other music from what I've heard so far, you know.
It kind of like for some reason it reminds me of that meme that you sent with the Eminem that's just standing there with his hands like open. It's just like we know what it is, but it's kind of like what do we do about it? You know, it's kind of like I don't know. It's part of the song. It fits the song. I don't know. It's just kind of like it contributes to the song. It's not like used to like for the shock value. It's used to like drive a point. Like I don't know, like yeah, it hurts, but let me just roll up real quick, and then it's all better. You know, it's something that I don't know. It's part of life, I guess now.
But moving on to the next song, Tally. What do you think of this one, Gio?
I really like the attitude of this song. It's very Blackpink. It's like the whole I'm gonna do what I want, and if people say stuff,
Mm.
f it, you know,
Yeah, I get
or
you.
as they put it, and it really does. I feel like it resonates a lot with Blackpink specifically because they get an enormous amount of hate for the dumbest reasons. Like there was an incident that happened when they dropped their last album, the album, where they were doing like a V Live. It's kind of like a live stream. And they were like, oh, let's look at the comments. And then Jenny looks at her phone and like it's just like thousands and like hundreds and hundreds of hate comments for her specifically, not the group, for her specifically. And like you could see like the exact moment her I don't know, how do you call it, like her, it's not like her heart breaks, but like the moment that kind of like broke her, and she was trying her hardest not to cry. And like all of the other members were like reading the comments, and they were trying their best to like, you know, cheer her up or whatever. But the Blackpink gets a lot of hate for no reason, specifically Jennie, because of I don't know, people just like have a problem with her that shouldn't exist. And I feel like this is a song that was made specifically for them. Well, not made, but something that they can definitely relate to. And they're just kind of like at this point in their career, they're like they're one of the biggest stars in Korea, or one of the biggest K-pop groups. It's like there's like 5 big K-pop groups, and they're like top 3. Like they're big. Like they don't need. It's kind of like with the Western artists, when they get so big, they like stop caring about what people think. It's like them finally admitting, all right, you can say what you want, but it's not gonna get to us anymore.
And I think 2 points I want to make. First off, as we've done these episodes, it's really kind of just solidified my point that, you know, the Korean music industry is really held under a microscope, you know, and that they just have to, like, every sort of bit of their actions, like, they're being, like, essentially held accountable for, you know, which, you know, I think we've, like, talked about it, but, like, you know, of course people should be held accountable for certain actions, but, like, this is, like, truly, like, people forget that we as people are not perfect, you know, and this is truly, like this music industry is truly like holding a lot of their artists under a microscope. And it's funny because in the chorus they mention it like, oh, no one's keeping tally, but that music industry really does, like, especially the fan bases and like the labels and all that, they're really keeping them under such a microscope that you wouldn't be surprised if they're like, oh, this is how many times you've already like messed up in your career, or like you've done something to like anger the fans. And it's just like, it's really upsetting to see that. And I'm really glad that the Western side has always been sort of like ignore the outside hate or what criticisms people have for you, which kind of ties into my second point with what you were saying right now. We've seen a lot of artists kind of be like, well, not only am I big enough to the point where I can just take the risk of saying, you know, I don't care what anyone thinks, but like we've just seen them be more and more like open these last couple of years. And the 3 examples I want to give, we saw Post Malone with his album go really, like, obviously Post has always been sort of open, but like he really opened up, especially if you want a similar song to like this in terms of like the message, go listen to Reputation off of Post Malone's last album, where, you know, he talks about a similar thing where, you know, obviously tying to the song's name, you know, he as an artist has like this reputation that he has to uphold, and no one really thinks about him as the person, especially because in the song he even says, you know, it says something about you know, entertain us, meaning like, you know, it's up to him to entertain the people, and none of them actually care about him the person because all they look at is him as an entertainer. Joey Badass's recent album, when you look at the song Survivor's Guilt, only now, even though he's like talked about it here and there since his friend's passing, only now, years later, does he feel finally comfortable enough to fully tell his side of the story and talk about how people tried to blame him for his best friend's suicide and all that, and how he had to just take all that from people without being able to share his side because they would have criticized him and called him selfish for just stating his side of the story and sort of explaining what actually went down. You know, even talking about how his friend's family would put the blame on him and he couldn't say nothing because he knew they were grieving just as much as he was, you know. And the final example I want to give is Kendrick Lamar with his latest album. I don't think it was the final song on the album, but I think it was the second to last song. If you go listen to, I think it's Mirror, the repeating part of that song for Kendrick Lamar, or in that album, or in that song from Kendrick Lamar's latest album, is, well, not only does he start off the album talking about like how long he's been gone and, you know, all the stuff that he's sort of had to think about, but I love that song so much because the part that repeats is him saying, "I chose me, I'm sorry." And when you think about it in the context of Kendrick Lamar's career, it's that, you know, essentially he's always been looked at as a great storyteller, but ever since he did To Pimp a Butterfly, people looked at him under this perception of like an activist in a sense, you know, because of how political To Pimp a Butterfly was in a sense, you know, and all the stuff he talked about on there. So it's like people always look to him to be this political advocate and all that, and activist, and that, you know, he needed to like do all these different things, and he's the one that has to be talking about all these different topics and leading the charge. When back in 2020, when all those events were occurring, people were all like, "Oh, where's Kendrick Lamar? Why isn't he speaking on this stuff? Why isn't he attending these rallies?" And it was like you saw so many people come to his defense, like, hello, he spoke about it years ago. It's not his fault that things haven't changed since he spoke about it. And then even days later, you saw photos of him at those rallies to show support, and people were still like, "Oh, he's probably only doing it because he got backlash for not being there and all that." And it was just like, it got to the breaking point where, like how Gio was saying, Kendrick got to the point where he just said, "I'm done with making music and trying to please my crowd," in a sense, you know. And a lot of people might look at that as counteractive because you're like, you want to make music for the people who have been supporting you, but in his mind, he was like, "I'm going to do what I want. I'm going to make the music I love making. I'm going to talk about the things I want to talk about. And this whole album is just me getting everything off my chest that I've been holding for the past like 5 or no, not even 5. Was it 6 years or so? No, wait, no. I think it was 5 years. I can't remember, but you know, all that time that he's been gone, and you know, even in that, he still feels the need to apologize to people because he knows they're gonna look at him as selfish for choosing his own wants and needs over what people expect from him. So it's like, in the end, the whole point for bringing it up is just to give not only a Western comparison to Blackpink's experience, but kind of just fully emphasize that, like, at the end of the day, these people are human too, and they deserve to do, you know, what they love, and, you know, not be held under some microscope and expected to be, you know, held accountable for like every little thing or every little right and wrong that they do, you know. Because, like, again, I just want to emphasize, at the end of the day, we are all human. No one is perfect. We're all gonna make mistakes, you know. And it's just totally wrong to hold people under a microscope and expect them to always be on top of their stuff, you know. Yes, people should be held accountable for their actions. I will be the first person to tell you that, you know, if anyone ever calls me out for something, I will always hold myself accountable for my actions, you know, and won't give excuses. But, like, especially seeing what happens, like, in the K-pop section of music, it's just like, or in the Korean side of music, you know, it just really makes me sad that they're held under such a microscope that they can't even, like, go against the norms, or they can't even speak against it, you know. Well, with the exception of Blackpink here, as Gio's shown that like, they've been more than willing to speak against the people who want to talk ill on them.
And dude, I completely agree with what you're saying. That if someone does something wrong, they should be held accountable. But the thing, like with Blackpink specifically, it's not. They haven't done anything wrong. Like in the 6 years that they've been together as a group, they haven't done anything wrong. It's just other fans attacking them for no reason. Like Jenny, it is like a few years ago. Jenny had like this whole dating scandal, I guess, that was confirmed to be true. She was dating a guy from another K-pop group, and you know how stans are. She got hate for it. It just, I don't know. It plays into like the whole how K-pop idols work and how they're supposed to play a specific role for their fans. And I don't know, fans just got a little bit too, you know, they got like they exaggerated it so much. And recently, there's been like photoshopped pictures of her and one of the members from BTS. Dude, you can already imagine how that fandom react. She was getting flooded with hate comments. And it's just like, it's stupid stuff like that they get hate for. Like, there was this one instance where they were doing like rehearsals like really early in the morning, like at 7, and she wasn't putting enough energy into the dance, and people were calling her lazy and saying that she shouldn't be an idol if she's not going to be fully committed to the job or whatever. And like, to be honest, dude, if you wake me up at 7 in the morning to rehearsal, I'm not going to put in my full effort. I'm just going to do the bare minimum, get the gist of it, go home, take a nap. Like, come on, man. Like, no one's up at 7 in the morning dancing their life, like if their life depended on it. It's like stupid stuff like that they get hate for. And I don't know. It's nice. But I guess it's been going on for like a few years now, just not at this moment. But it's like they're finally like shaking it all off and being, I'm gonna do me. Y'all can say what you want. I don't care.
And I don't want to go too much or too long because, there's still one more song to review and one thing I really want to talk about. But, I definitely, like, if there's one sort of fault to the K-pop industry, to the Korean, like, side of music, or, and, like, the whole thing about them being idols and all that, is... And like the one thing that they should really move on from, even though it's going to be really difficult because of the way those fan bases are, is just how much they rely on this whole parasocial sort of relationship between the idols and the fan base, where it's like, I don't know, it's really kind of sad to see them have to be held under such standards, where it's like, we have, it's like a topic to get into fully on an episode, but like Gio was like explaining to me how like, some of these companies have like, clauses, and that's why Gio keeps referring to it as scandal, where they end up finding out, oh yeah, these two people are dating and it's wrong for them to be dating. And it's like, it's just kind of one of those parts of the business that you really feel uncomfortable with, because it's just like, that shouldn't be something they control. And it's sad that it has to be controlled because of how much they rely on that whole parasocial dynamic between the fans and the artists themselves.
That was a funny thing that happened with their company, with YG. There was like a scandal. I forget who it was. There was a scandal going on between, and the two people involved were from the big three companies, from YG and SM. And YG literally said, we don't know anything, go ask SM. And they literally pushed everything on SM Entertainment, and like literally everyone went from YG to SM waiting on that statement. And it's just like, it was such a funny interaction. And yeah, but it's like, when it comes to dating as a whole, at first it's kind of like they want to play it off as best they can so that the company doesn't lose any money. But then after a while, it's kind of like, oh, it's their personal lives. We can't We can't confirm it if it's up to them. And yeah, that's what happened with. That's what happened with her. That's what the company says. She said, "Oh, it's her personal life. We can't ask her about it. It's not our business." And then fans were kind of just like, "Oh, you should do more, investigate." And it's like, we can't do much. It's their personal life. Yeah. Anyways, moving on to the last song, because I feel like we've been talking about other stuff a little bit. What's it called? Ready to Love?
Yeah, Ready for Love.
Ready for Love. I always get the name wrong. This was also kind of a pre-release. They did a special collab with PUBG, where PUBG was in charge of making the music video for it, using like character models of the members. And I don't know if you saw that video, but it was atrocious. Like the character models looked nothing like the members, and the facial expressions were very robotic. I mean, like everything else, like the trees and the glowy stones were pretty, because I don't know, it's not trying to replicate emotion, and I don't know, people didn't like it, and I guess that's why it got kind of like overshadowed. The song got overshadowed by how bad the music video was. But I don't know, going back to it, I listened to it earlier today. I like it. It's a good song. That's pretty much it's a good song. Yeah, it's a good song.
Yeah, I can't remember which song it was. It might be this one. This is kind of the issue I always have whenever we do these reviews, is that like there's always something I like end up like essentially like I re-listen to the music and then I'm like, oh, I wish I would have talked more about this like on the episode. But there was like something where I felt like it might be on a different song. I don't know if it's this one, but there was a song where it's like I felt like the flow sounded familiar, and I thought it was like another case of sampling. But that'll have to be something that I just go back on my own to find. But yeah, it was a good song. I really liked it as a whole. I thought it was a nice little closer to the album. I didn't know about the PUBG review or collab thing, and yeah, I think it was a nice song to end off on. And if you don't have anything more to add, Gio, with our last 7 minutes and 30 seconds, I want to kind of talk about the bone I have to pick with
yeah, you told me about that.
Yeah,
so go ahead and let's hear it.
If it sounds like a rant to people, I'm sorry, but I want to talk about this, especially because I forgot to bring it up in the Twice review. I'll give IVE a pass because they're singles, they're not actual albums. I'm trying to think of other cases, but what is going on with the album covers? I have a bone to pick with how low effort, in a sense, a lot of these album covers have been looking. And, you know, if people want to get mad at me for that, remember, I'm coming from the Western side where I'm not trying to pick one side over the other. Obviously, I haven't looked too much into the K-pop world, but I come from the Western side of the music where, yeah, you get some bad album covers here and there, but for the most part, a lot of them are very high quality and very creative in a sense, and really give you a preview of what you're getting into. The last two that we've reviewed, Blackpink's album cover is literally just the words Blackpink, Born Pink, and two pink horns, I guess you can call it, coming from the top. Fangs? Oh, that's fangs. Okay. Oh, that makes sense because of Pink Venom. You know, that's all the album cover is. And then Twice, I wouldn't have given them flack if they had went with the teaser they gave where it was all the members on it. But then they just went with like this simplistic, almost like, how would you even describe this, man? It just looked like I don't even know how you would describe it, but it was like
it's like cutouts.
Yeah, like a cutout spelling the title between 1 and 2, and it looks very like school-ish, I guess you can say. I don't know if that's the way to describe it, but it wasn't like necessarily the best. And it's not to say that the album cover where it was all 9 members was like a masterpiece and all that, but like it definitely was at least better than the album cover they went with. And I don't know, I started looking through like a lot of the different sort of albums we reviewed so far, and it's like something I noticed, like Icon's Return is just the word return on a red canvas, I won't give too much flack to IU because that album cover actually kind of encapsulates the vibe that you get from that album. It definitely gives you that like springtime feel from it. But like I have high expectations when it comes to album covers because of all the music I've grown with and discovered all my life, Like I've come across so many just album covers that look like masterpieces and art of their own. Like if you didn't tell someone it was an album cover, they could believe it was an actual piece of art. I've seen album covers that just fully, like after you listen to it, you're like, this album cover perfectly matches what this album is, or it perfectly tells you what this album is about. And I've seen plenty of terrible ones where you're just like, why is this the cover? And I can especially say that because I have gone and changed the album covers of many albums in iTunes so that I don't have to see it. And it's just like my issue here is that it's too simplistic in a bad way. There have been many good simplistic album covers, but yet it's just 2 pink fangs coming down on a white canvas with the words. It's just the words between 1 and 2. It's just the word return. I don't know. I know I need to look more into the K-pop genre to probably find album covers that I like, but it wasn't until this one that I just fully realized and was like, my goodness, why haven't they given me any notable album covers to look at and like truly enjoy?
I mean, I'm looking through my Apple Music right now, and I don't know. It's something like, it's something that I don't know. It's kind of like you just accept over time. It's kind of like you don't expect much from the album covers. It's not like in Western music where it's like imported in a way. It just kind of like do something that either shows who the album is by, or like a picture of the soloist. It's this very simple stuff. But with the Born Pink, I really like that because it's kind of like, I don't know, it's kind of like it's so simplistic, like very simplistic, but it's also kind of cool because like if you see like the black version of it, it looks sick, and I don't know, it's kind of like it depends on how it's your opinions on stuff and your taste, but I do agree. Like some of these album covers are, oh dude, they're trash. Like on God, like this is like a picture of the members with the name of the stuff on top, and it's just kind of like, yikes, dude, that could have been better.
Yeah, I think the only album cover I've liked so far, and I'm gonna go back so that way, like on the next episode, I can like tell people for sure, so they don't be like, oh, out of all the music you've listened to, you're leaving this off. Looking through very quickly on my playlist, which Gio, you should know how difficult that is for me, but as I'm scrolling up and down, the only one I can say for sure that I've definitely liked so far compared to the rest is probably B.I.'s Cosmos album covers.
Dude, that thing is heat. So it's literally radiating I don't know, radiation. I don't know, dude. I really like that one too. Like that one's one of my favorite album covers because it's, I don't know, like half of his face is like dark and then the other is light, but the one with the light has like that flower on it and he has like wet hair and it's dude, it looks so fucking. I cursed. My bad, dude. It looks so sick, dude. That's one of my favorite ones. But there's definitely like other albums that I'm gonna share you. I'm gonna send you some that I think are actually pretty cool, just to see how you think about it. But yeah, okay. I agree. Like they should like pick up their game.
Yeah, for sure. But with that being said, thank you all for joining us for this episode of Culture Study. I've been your co-host Jack, joined by my fellow co-host
Giovanni.
Thank you all for joining for these 2 episodes, and we'll catch y'all next week with